Hey everybody. So there's not a whole lot going on in the NHL right now as far as moves. Obviously, Andrei Vasilevsky's extension is the big news of the day. But the last couple weeks or so, and usually as we head into the beginning of August, there's not a whole lot going on. But I can tell you guys one thing is that there are going to be more moves made before next season begins, and there are going to be some big moves made because I am on Cap Friendly right now, looking at all these teams' salary cap situations. There are a lot of teams that need to make trades. There are a lot of teams that are right up in cap trouble. There are teams with RFAs that they don't have enough money to re-sign. There are a lot of teams that still have moves to make. 4 teams right now are projected to be over the cap. The Rangers are over by a lot. The Maple Leafs are over by a lot. Washington's over by a decent amount. And Pittsburgh's over by a little bit. Arizona only has less than $200,000 in cap space and only have 21 players on the roster, not a full 23. Dallas has less than $1 million in cap space. Vegas is right around $1 million. None of them have full rosters. Nashville has a full roster at 23 and $2.3 million in cap space, so they'll probably go into the season the way they are. But then you have Florida, who only has about $2.4 million in cap space and only 20 players signed on the roster right now. And as you look up and down, there are a lot of teams that are pretty tight up against the cap, and there are a lot of teams that don't have full rosters yet and still have moves to make. Even as you go further down the list, yes, Calgary looks like they're in solid shape with $4.6 million in cap space. Matthew Tkachuk is still an RFA. He's going to command, probably around $8 million per year for him. $7-8 million per year for Matthew Tkachuk. So 4.6 in cap space is about half of what they need to re-sign him. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a team that is middle of the pack right now as far as cap space with $5.5 million. However, they only have 21 players on the roster and not a full 23. And they also haven't re-signed Braden Point yet, who's an RFA. Braden Point's another guy who's probably going to be $8-9 million a year to re-sign him. So $5.5 million in cap space is nothing. There are a lot of moves left to be made this offseason, and I don't know exactly when they're going to happen. Winnipeg is another team that likely needs to make moves. Right now, Winnipeg has $17.5 million in cap space, but only 17 players signed on the roster. So they've got to fill out the rest of their roster, and they have big name RFAs to re-sign. While $17.5 million sounds like a lot, it's not at all when you have, probably $25 million in RFAs that you need to re-sign. So, really, it's an interesting situation money-wise when you look around the league. A lot of these teams are really up against it with the salary cap, and they are struggling money-wise to stay under that cap. And the whole RFA situation is, we still have some big-time RFAs needed to be re-signed that the teams just don't have the money for. Calgary right now cannot afford Matthew Tkachuk. Tampa Bay right now cannot afford Braden Point. They also have Adam Ernie that they have to re-sign, assuming they keep him. When you look at Winnipeg now, Patrick Laine and Kyle Connor are RFAs. And they only have 17 players on the roster, so they've got to somehow get up to 23. They're not even really close to a full roster at this point. There are definitely moves to be made. I know Nikolai Ehlers is a guy who's been talked about for Winnipeg as far as trade rumors, as far as someone that they might move to try and keep Laine and Connor. Ehlers is on a long-term deal at a $6 million per year cap hit. Another guy they could potentially try and move. Well, no, they really can't because he has a modified no trade clause. But they could try and move would be Dmitry Kulikov at $4.3 million per year, and he's going into the last year of his contract. But they've already lost a ton off of their defense, losing Myers and Trouba. So they really can't afford to be trading away a defenseman, especially a veteran guy in Kulikov, who is kind of going to be a big deal for them this season. I do not envy the situation that the Winnipeg Jets are in at all. Tampa Bay is another team that's in tough cap issues, with Point needing to be re-signed and Adam Ernie needing to be re-signed. And the problem with them is a lot of the guys that you would think that they would move, Tyler Johnson, Andre Palat, Alex Killorn, guys like that, they all have no trade clauses. So they're going to be tougher to move because of that. And then defensively, I mean, they just re-signed Braden Coburn. Sergachev will be an RFA after this coming season. Eric Chernak will be an RFA after this coming season. I mean, they're kind of filling their defense out with guys like Luke Shen and Luke Witkowski, who are kind of borderline AHL, NHL seventh defensemen. They're not in an enviable situation either. And then, when you look up at Calgary, that's another team that is in pretty tough shape as far as they have to make a move. They need to re-sign Matthew Tkachuk. I don't think Andrew Mangiapane, however you say that, is that much of an important. I don't know how high he is on the priority list, but they have him as an RFA as well. But Tkachuk is the big one there, 21 years old, coming off a breakout, superb offensive season in the league. He's going to command $7-8 million per year or more. They don't have the cap space right now for that, so they're going to have to move someone. I think the names I've been hearing is that Michael Frolik is going into the last year of his contract at $4.3 million per year. He's the guy that they're trying to move. They obviously got rid of James Neal's contract, but they brought in Milan Lucic, so that didn't really help. At least salary cap wise, that didn't help. Another guy that's been talked about getting traded possibly is TJ Brody. He's going into the last year of his contract at a $4.65 million per year cap hit. But that would take a big chunk out of their top four defense if they get rid of TJ Brody. He's been there a long time now and is a very important part of that defense core. If you take him out, that's a knock to the top four for sure. But again, Calgary is another team in a tough situation. And then, when you go to the teams that, really they have to make a move, the teams that are currently over the cap. The Rangers, given Panarin that massive deal. Chris Kreider has been talked about in trade rumors really since last year. They're certainly going to try and move him. Vlad Nemestikov is another guy they could possibly try and move. He's making $4 million a year. I don't think he has performed nearly to the level that deserves $4 million a year. And an issue with the Rangers is they're already over the cap. Brendan Lemieux's still an RFA, and Anthony DeAngelo's still an RFA. So they have people that they need to sign as well. That is not good news for the Rangers. So they're a team that absolutely has to make a move. Kreider, Nemestikov, maybe someone else as well. All need to be somehow taken off of that cap. Toronto, obviously the big story in Toronto is Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner is still not re-signed, and he wants, like $11+ million per year. I hate to break it to you, Mitch, but the projected cap space right now for Toronto is 0. They're actually over the cap. Their cap hit is $84.397 million. The cap is 81.5. Yeah, that's an issue. Toronto still, as much as I like what they've done this season, or this offseason, fixing the defense And, bringing in CC, bringing in Tyson Barrie especially, bringing in Ben Harper, adding to that defense, fixing a major weakness of that team. The elephant in the room is still Mitch Marner, and he's still not signed. So that is a big problem for Toronto with their cap situation. And Washington, they may be able to bury money. They're only over by about $1 million. They may easily be able to bury money by waiving someone or sending them to the minors. We'll see what happens. And then lastly, Pittsburgh is slightly over the cap, not by much, but they do not have anyone currently that needs to be re-signed except for Marcus. Well, they have Marcus Pettersson. I spoke too soon there. Marcus Pettersson is still an RFA, and he played well for them, I think, last year after being traded over from Anaheim. So I think he's somebody that they're going to want to keep. So they're already, kind of over the cap a little bit. They're going to have to sign Pettersson. Pettersson won't be awful expensive. Maybe get him around $1 million, $1.5 million, something like that. But that would require a move, a trade of some sort, or burying money down in the minor leagues somehow. But I don't think Pittsburgh's done making moves. So basically my point is when you look at the league, there's not a whole lot happening right now, but there's still a whole lot that has to happen. There are a lot of teams right up in cap trouble, teams with RFAs they still need to re-sign, teams that don't have the money to sign those RFAs. And I think we're going to see a lot of trades as we head through August towards September and get closer to the season. I think we're going to see the trading pick up again. And I think before the season starts, we're going to see a lot more moves made and a lot of things shifting around, because these teams have to find a way to deal with the salary cap. So with that, that's pretty much all I've got for that. Just expect a lot more moves to be made before this season starts. With that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description as well. Please keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. We are on our road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can do anything to help us get there, it will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.